Brian Little.
What's going on, guys? Just a quick day in the shop update. Doing some finalizing touches on the intake for the case swap. There's the motor, there's the car. It needs to become one again. Something fun we did. S54 is finally in the wagon. ITBs. It's just in there. We got it in. Still need to do all the wiring, little things here and there, program it, all that good stuff. Another quick little update. We got Pandem back. It went off for exhaust and intercooling piping. Very nice, very, very nice. And then also I am redoing another set of rear trailing arms for the yellow 36. Wheel bearings and the bushings are worn out on it. So I'm refreshing this kit. That way it's just like drop and replace. Don't have to drop it, refresh it, and then throw it back in. Just quicker turnaround time, because that thing is going to Button Willow on the 13th. And then probably gonna take those off, refresh those, have them as backup. But yeah, got all that going on. We'll show you bits and pieces as we go on throughout the day. Show you how I do the bearings and bushings on trailing arms. I've done it different ways. I'll show you how I'm doing it this way, and I'll explain how I've done it before as well. Oh shit, look, Andy's here. Very nice, no big deal. E36, that's a delivery car.
What's going on, guys? Now it's my turn to update you guys a little bit more detail about some of the stuff that we've had in the works, some of it for longer than others, but the biggest thing for us is the Pandem. She's back. This was basically a SEMA build back from, I don't know, going on 3-4 years ago now. So this car started out as a Bronze It 89 325i. We bought it, blown motor, from a member of the community, and at one point it had different motor swap in it, but basically when we got it, we had the intention that we were going to develop and design our LS kit on it. But things have escalated. Pandem got involved, gave us a real Pandem kit. I think it's like the second or third one in existence, and all of a sudden we're going to SEMA. Things escalated, but she's finally back about 3 years later now, 4 years later actually, and she's actually getting reworked now to actually be very functional. So I'm gonna go over what we did during that time. It's been a long time since we updated you guys on this, so let's check it out. So this is now a 6-liter LS. It's got basically a mutt of different parts from different chassis, different generations, but it's now basically a 6-liter supercharged forged internal LS. We basically put it on a motor dyno, but it made 700, very low PSI. It was like 5 PSI, 7 PSI from Vortec, but it's got obviously the forged internals, and it's ready to make a lot more power. It's blueprinted for 1,000 horsepower. So, but we want reliability, so 700, you know, we'll make do. It'll be all right, you know. Now, since we've started, a lot of stuff has changed. A lot of people that we now work with, you know, jumped on board on the car. So we've gotten a couple experts in the field helping us along with the build. Vortec was one of the first people on deck. This is their universal supercharging LS kit. Happens to fit in an E30 really well with our mounts. All we had to do was basically just notch this little seam. It's not even the frame, it's like a little seam on the edge of that thing, and it's good to go. Now we then took it to a couple of, a fabricator, Mark Chance, does a lot of drifting community stuff. When we realized that we're running out of room up here and the weight is gonna be really weird, so we need a rear mounted radiator setup. Well, that's pretty common practice in basically super time attack cars or drift cars. So Mark has a lot of experience in the drift car community, and he helped us with that project. And you know, we made our mounts, and it was really cool to collaborate on something like with our manufacturing ability and their experience. We were able to make some really cool stuff. So obviously there wouldn't be a radiator here, but we still have the oil cooler there. We did weld AN fittings on the original cast LS water pump, and it's powerful enough to be able to pull from the back of the car. There's quite a bit that goes into that into the rear mount radiator setup, but it should give us the balance that we want. Custom fabricated headers. We basically went with Aeromotive for the fuel system. We used their trifecta, which is basically a 3 fuel pump setup So basically one pump is running one side, one pump's running the other, and one's is actually a backup. And it is ethanol capable, so that's nice to know that we'll be able to do that. Now, another really cool thing you may have noticed is that we went bulkhead fittings on everything. I mean, even the big coolant bulkhead fittings, and these things are really neat. So you use a bulkhead fitting, and basically what this does is it sits on the firewall on both ends, and then you basically would then run the AN fittings going to wherever you may need it and be able to run it. So it's really neat that we were able to use the bulkhead fittings for that. We used it for our boosterless setup. And that's one of those things that we're going to be shooting a little bit later, a in-depth boosterless install with this one, because we basically super customized our variation of it, just because we can. Yeah, but Mark basically laid out some really nice handiwork. I mean, you can see the welds. He actually welded all the tubing, make it super serviceable. But yeah, she's really close. We're just glad to have her back here. And now back to the back of the car where there's a lot going on. So to get the trifecta to work from Aeromotive, we wanted to basically buy a setup that would fit in the stock tank. The stock tank is actually in a very good location, and in most racing sanctioned bodies, as long as it's inside the cage, it's not outside, then they usually suffice for that kind of stuff. If not, you know, it's one of those things that we could very well eventually go to a fuel cell, but it's a great experiment in the meantime. So what we did is we basically had the top of the tank just notched, so that way you can basically bolt up this trifecta fuel pump. So in here, there's actually 3 fuel pumps. The thing looks like a bomb, to be honest, when you pull it out, but it's really neat. And then we're able to then get, you know, everything's very labeled, everything's very nice. They really thought this stuff through. And they're saying that this is good for 2,000 horsepower, so nice insurance. So there's a ton of stuff going on in the back of this car. Very unconventional, but we really wanted to push the boundaries, have some fun with it. So what we have here is a rear radiator mount setup. Now, this beautiful contraption over here is actually the radiator that came out of Rome's car. I believe it was Texas, when he hit the wall and, you know, something came flying out of the back of the car. That was this setup. That was this rear radiator setup. Obviously, it's not good anymore, but it is great for mock-up, and he has a very similar motor to what's in this car, so we're going with tried and true. So he's got these big fans from Spal. They're a little bit big. We might go to something a little bit smaller. They make a bunch of other parts, but basically we use this for mock-up and improved on the design. You know, so instead of having these necks, we went with some AN fittings. So this would be the setup going in there. So it's the same setup, except we just refined some of the details. So instead of having these coming off the face of it, we have it coming off the sides, and that's basically so that way for serviceability, we can then rotate, you know, this radiator. So we also welded on aluminum 1/2-inch stock on both of these ends. That's another modification that we did. And the idea is that it will then sit into something in the back of the trunk, which I'll show you. And then that way, if we need to service it, it just rotates like that. And with those fittings out of the way, we can actually get a really nice tight fit. That's gonna be pretty awesome, especially with a lot of heat coming in the trunk as well. The exhaust runs through the trunk to make room for the diffuser. So it goes a little something like this. So it'll basically just be right there. We're gonna duct and heat shield the exhaust, and using our spare wheel well delete, we're gonna modify it so that way we can basically notch where the exhaust comes out of, add some ducting, and if we ever need to service the radiator, that's it, right there. I say that's it like it was easy. It wasn't easy. And just in case that wasn't enough going on in the trunk, we also have the AccuSump mounted, obviously loosely right there. And basically Canton makes this setup, and what that does is in the case of an emergency, if the oil, if it loses pressure or anything like that, something breaks the oil pan, it will actually have a switch on there, so when it senses that pressure, it will actually shoot all of the oil in from this AccuSump into the motor and give us a little bit of time to get off the track. Now, while that's happening, the system is very intelligent. Our AEM system is going to realize that something has happened, and the whole screen will go red and start letting us know that we have basically 30 seconds to either park the car or get off the track. So very intelligent system because it works all together. So our personal favorite thing on this car is the rear muffler setup. This is coming out straight out of the trunk in very similar spots to the DTM cars where they had filler necks. You can actually see, you know, when you look at the old DTM videos, there's actually some fuel filler necks on the back of this. So looks-wise, it's supposed to look like that. So it's pretty cool. We're gonna end up making a CNC billet shroud around this thing that resembles a Euro filler plate, but it's actually aluminum. It actually will protect the tail lights. Full stainless, and the way that it was routed, you know, Mark just killed it with this. V-bands for serviceability, and basically using a lot of the factory holes so that everything is reversible for these mounts. So it came out super cool. Right now, it's basically 3-inch duals all the way back, pretty much straight. So it's gonna be really loud. We're gonna see how long that lasts for. Between that and the straight cut gears in the transmission, yeah, it might make your ears bleed a little. And because of all this stuff going on over here, we cut up a old trunk, all rusty and stuff, so that's why it was a mock-up. Again, learning from the drift guys' experience about being able to vent what's going on, especially with, you know, the air is gonna have to come in, most likely through these quarter panel windows, into these ducts that we're gonna be making around the roll cage, into the radiator and out. So we're gonna utilize some of these, but we're also gonna utilize some of the factory rain gutter stuff. Usually there's a tube that would run through here. This would be a great way to also get air outside of the car. So those will be opened up. Trying to use as much as a factory as possible, so it's still somewhat of an E30 at the very end. But it is very pushing the very boundaries of what we can do. So it's a lot of fun being able to use all the technologies. It's gonna be fast, it's gonna be light. I mean, the full carbon fiber roof, that's one of those things a lot of people don't know. They think it's a wrap. It's real carbon. I mean, it's very, very carbon. That's exactly why the roll cage is made for a weight class above the car. We're not saving weight we could save other places, but if it rolls, we got to walk away from it. So yeah. So originally we had developed the kit with a T56 out of an F body, and that's what's in it right now. It's perfectly good, 6-speed. It's a beautifully tried and true transmission, but that's why we're going to change it. So we may have gotten a 4-speed dog box, very similar to the one ran in Rome's car, because he's an instigator. He's got his connection down at G-Force, and they were able to basically build this transmission for us. It's very similar to the units you would find in NASCAR. You know, when the good old boys are pulling on that, that's this guy right here. So it's 4-speed, but because it's a 4-speed, you need to use a Winter's quick change in order to be able to still, you know, we're gonna go to Big Willow, great. We don't need a first gear, we need a long 4th gear. Great, we just pop in a gear into the Winter's quick change. I say it like it's easy, like we pop it in. It is easy, but we have to modify the whole rear subframe to fit a Winters in there. And this transmission bolts up like a T56, uses a T56 bell housing, and is incredibly light. Very. So to stop all this power, basically we are retrofitting a Willwood kit. Now it's a 5-lug setup because it's using E36 M3 stuff, tried and true, using Z3 stuff in the rear, but the brakes are just not going to cut it. So we're making a 6-piston Willwood setup on this, but that will require 17-inch wheels to be able to clear everything. So Conseil has been pretty awesome this whole time. You know, they've sponsored us on the yellow car and a couple of other cars. So has Federal. So what they've done is they've given us some mock-up wheels for us to play with. You may have originally recognized the car as our CNC version 3-piece wheels that we based off the Style 21, which is basically off the E34 M5, where they run the contours of turbines. So this thing's pretty awesome. You know, custom CNC billet insert. It's got all of the original spots where you can actually run a turbine and all of that. At the time, this was the largest tire we'd be able to get, but it's a little bit stretched for what we're trying to do. But it's too pretty to run right now. So we want to test it with something a little bit rougher because the car is meant to be driven. So this is gonna be great for when we go to shows and stuff like that, but they're gonna get parked. So Conseil has given us our first set of test wheels right here. So these are a little bit more bulletproof. They do come in 17s and 18s. We're actually running, I think this set's the actual 18s right now. That will help with a little bit of our tire selection at the time. That is pretty large for an E30, but we're gonna see what happens. The suspension is very, very customized. Matter of fact, Feel Suspension is actually building a 3-way set of coilovers for this car and all of our other cars, including our K car, and we're then gonna carry that Garagistic Edition Feel Suspension. So it should be able to accommodate for the 18-inch wheels. They're not that heavy. We'll need them for the brakes, but yeah, Conseil's on board, so see how it goes. By the way, you guys want this car running too, because this has a lot of development parts we've been using and practicing on for a very long time. A lot of unreleased stuff that is getting requested, so the sooner we finish it, the more testing we get, the sooner it hits the market. So obviously I am like very infested. I am infested with this project too, but I am mostly invested in this project just because it shows the ability to like get back to the roots, to remember like, you know, me personally, like how I got into this and like really just experimenting and playing with it. It's kind of like garage time, you know, just using these things for, I'm not thinking about development, I'm thinking about just like what would be the coolest thing that we can do. And what's great about it is like the best things come out of it. But in order to do that and be accurate with this much going on, I may have went to town modeling this whole car. So there it is. And I mean, it's very detailed. I mean, it has our actual models as far as like our actual strut bar right there, our actual LS mounts. Even the AEM Infinity kit is actually in place. Our boosterless kit is in place. You know, and it's overlaid on a car model where eventually, now that we're getting our scan, we're gonna be able to actually replace all these panels. But even the real data from the front subframe is there, the rear subframe, the mounting points, the fin diff, it's all here. So it's one of those things, you know, especially the trunk, especially with the exhaust, all that. So super cool, really got invested in this project, you know, so pretty cool. Obviously things break. I mean, there's a fuel pressure regulator, you know, floating in space, but yeah, it's in there. So, and this is without a scanner. This is outsourcing any of the scans that we've had and stuff like that. So now with the scan in here, which is coming next week, you can only imagine.
What's going on, y'all? Beautiful. Today I'm just working on refreshing another set of trailing arms that we have for the E36. These are actually M3. You can tell right there by the M badge on it. So I'm replacing the R-tab, upper and lower, the ball joints. And then once that we remove those, I'm gonna refresh those as well. Just have them as backup. Things happen at the track, something gives out, drop it, new one goes in right away, keep the car going. And then today I'm actually gonna be doing it using my kit of wheel bearing remover and the ball joint remover kit. I've actually done this multiple ways where I just knock it out with a hammer and a chisel, or you know, just manhandle it out, and then you cut the race out, smack it out. I like to try it different ways just to see, mainly for me, just to do it, get that experience in. This obviously is gonna be kind of easier, faster. This time I'm just using this way. So I already completed this side. So you can see the upper and lower new, wheel bearings new, have the 95 R-tabs in there. A good little tip is the top one always comes with this more ball joint style. The bottom sometimes comes rubber, like this one over here. See this rubber piece? These usually give out first than the top ones. So what you do is you replace the bottom one with the top one ball joint style. As everything's the same size, same length, but it works. I already did it on this one. I have the two brand new ones. For this one, got a new FAG wheel bearing. So, gonna knock this out, get it ready, show you a little bit of the process along the way. Damn! If you do this kind of stuff often, it's nice having the good tools, proper tools for it. Makes it easier, faster, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, just like that. No struggling, no cutting, no burning, no cancer. That took what, less than a minute? If you do end up buying a kit, you want to always make sure to lubricate the threads on all the hardware. Just helps prolong the life of it, doesn't strip it. These are gonna get put under a lot of stress pulling this hub out of the bearing. So that's why I would put some WD-40. And then you don't want to use impact on this stuff. I just use this for now just to sit them all the way. I'm gonna switch to a ratchet and just a couple turns on all of them. So. work it out. A couple turns at a time on each. So finally got the hub off. As you can see, I still need to get the inside race off. I'm gonna show you how to do that. Got the dust shield off. That way I can easily access the upper and lower ball joints. So what you're gonna have to do, this is from the other one that I already did. So you can see I just took a grinder to it and I cut almost an X, just a slit, get in there. And then with this right here, and then you can get a hammer and a chisel, and what you do, you just smack it real hard, and what it does a little stress crack and it relieves the pressure. You can see it better on the inside. So after you do that, you get some pliers, shimmy it out or flathead and start to work it off. I have an air hammer which makes it easier, but I've done it the hammer and chisel way, so it's doable. It takes a little more effort. Now, this one honestly is very easy. Look at that. Jesus. That was fast. Now that's a bad bushing. Oh, it collapsed the inside. This is gonna blow, Captain. Yeah, sometimes they're stubborn. You have to heat up a little bit on the outside and then it'll break loose. And that happens sometimes too. 1, 2, 3, all out. Next, wheel bearing. Get a little bit of sandpaper, clean up the insides, new bushings go on. Again, I recommend buying one of these. As you can see, it held the whole thing in place while I worked out all bushing. Doesn't move, has a spot to step on both feet so it doesn't get away from you. It's like a second pair of hands. There she blows. That easy. So yeah, this is a 1000 grit, I think. You want to clean up all the any kind of rust build up, just so it can make the install easier. And then if you're doing this at home, a good tip will be leave your actual ball joints in the freezer for a couple days until you're absolutely ready to just put it in and press it on. They'll shrink ever so slightly to make the install easier. Don't have a freezer here, so that's why I'm cleaning it up real good. If you're doing this at home and you have some time to do this or you plan ahead, definitely throw these in the freezer. I'm gonna take a quick commercial break from trailing arms to put a motor in.
Brian Little.
Time, bitches. So I got the motor back in for now, just make sure everything's running properly, and then we're gonna test fit a couple other prototype parts we have going. Right now, the motor mount brackets are just welded pieces that we made just to get the engine mocked up. We're actually gonna make a billet version of the motor mounts. It's gonna be a very unique style. We switched it up probably about 3 times already. This final one, we're kind of happy with how it's coming out. So now it's gonna be a matter of how hard will it be to machine. Same thing with the oil pan. We're switching over to a full billet oil pan. All right, well, that's it for today, guys. It's almost time to close up. Just gonna finish up a couple things, clean up. Yeah, we just want to give you a different kind of footage of what we do. Today was like a wrenching day for us. So it's kind of just all K car, getting the some stuff ready for the yellow car for the E36, taking it to a Button Willow. But you let us know if you like this kind of footage. You know, we always have a crazy day going on in the shop. Sometimes a little more boring, a little more fun. Like today, sometimes we're here late night, just having fun, enjoying cars. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Have a good one. Go work on your car. Go help a friend with a car. Just have fun.